Well, hey there. I, I should say good evening. How are you guys? Thanks for joining. Um, I thought it would just be great to talk about sleep, late night Facebook Live. Seemed like a fun thing to do. Um, I rewatched some of my previous Facebook Lives. One of the things I'm going to try to work on is moving less. I do a lot of back and forth moving. It's fine to maybe use my hands, but the whole back and forth business, I got to work on it. It like adjusts the camera weird. So, anyways, that's one of the things I'm working on. And then I had some technical difficulties with my signage thing, my tripod. Um, it was not agreeing with how I was hoping things would be set up. So I have that thing stuck to my back thing there, and I'm sure probably can't read it. I'm going to talk about everything on the list. You probably can't read that unless you're really young and you have really good eyesight. I don't even think you could zoom in, but so sorry about that. It's not exactly how I wanted it to be, but and I hope that you can hear me actually. Somebody wants to give me like a thumbs up, like, yay, you can hear me. I'm not just like talking and nobody's listening. Um, okay, so let's get started. Let's talk about sleep. Here's what I'm not going to talk about this evening. We're not going to discuss administrative controls, engineering controls for improving your sleep while you're at work. Those are likely things that you have no control over. It's something that I have a lot of thoughts about, and at some point I would like to address it, but I'm not going to here because this is going to be long enough, and I didn't want to get into that. What we are going to focus on is what you have control over, which is yourself and your own sleep. So I want to first start off by telling you a story. Well, it's just about me. I was a terrible sleeper for as long as I can remember. I grew up as an only child and I was always very afraid at night and I didn't sleep well. And so my mom would come and sleep with me. We had two twin beds in my room. And so I always needed my mom to be in there because I was so scared. I never slept well. Fast forward, I go to college. I slept terrible while I was in college. I thought that this was just who I was. As I realized that I wanted to become a paramedic, I thought, this is fantastic. I'm going to be a great paramedic because I doubt that they ever sleep. They're up all night. I'm up all night already. Might as well be up taking care of people. So I thought I was the perfect fit. Then I had children and thought, I'm the perfect fit for a mother with colicky babies, which they all three of them were. They were terrible sleepers. Now, our children are generally reflection, the way that they sleep is a reflection of generally how we sleep. And so when they were young, I was a terrible sleeper. They were terrible sleepers. The only people that slept well in my house was our dog and my husband, who's also a paramedic, flight paramedic too, just like me. And you might be able to hear them all roaming around because they're all getting ready for bed because it's sleep time. So I used to be really proud of the fact that I only slept for 4 hours a night. I thought this was amazing. I was in good company of Martha Stewart, Steve Jobs. They all reportedly didn't sleep very well or very long either. So I was proud of this fact and I would talk about it to everybody. And as I got older and my hormones started to change, my weight, of course, since I became a paramedic, my weight increased dramatically. So I've been a paramedic for about 23 years. And ever since then, I mean, literally year one, I probably gained 10 pounds and it just accumulated over time. So as I got older and I started perimenopause, if I thought I was sleeping bad before, this is a whole new game. And so I thought, oh man, I think something's going to have to change. What I noticed the most about my lack of sleep as I got older was my mood, super grouchy, really reactionary, really negative and cynical because I wasn't getting a lot of sleep. Um, so when I decided to lose weight, one of the weight loss coaches that I follow and listen to, her name is Corinne Crabtree, and she does PNP Tribe. She's amazing. And one of the things she said is that the two most underutilized fat burners are water and sleep. I was like, what? I'm screwed. Sleep, like I'm a terrible sleeper. How am I going to lose weight? And when I started to learn more about how sleep affects our body weight, I was like completely blown away. I was like, well, I can't believe every single paramedic or EMT or first responder, anybody who does shift work isn't way overweight. Like this was really confusing, but it made sense to me and why I had been gaining so much weight over the years. So, what did I do? Well, I started to learn about sleep and how to sleep. So, all of the things and tips that I'm going to share with you in this Facebook Live are things that I am currently doing. And I feel like it has transformed my sleep from being a terrible sleeper to being an absolute fantastic sleeper. Um, and I'm happy to report that all of my children, all three of them, even the teenage boys, especially them, are all great sleepers. And this is amazing. And I know not everybody has older kids and you have younger kids, and they can interfere with your sleep as well. But I might address that a little bit in this. Um, so I made sleep a priority. And I also stopped, this is so huge, you guys. I stopped making lots of plans for post night shift. Now, I don't know what your hours are that you work for in EMS or if you're in HEMS, but we work rotating shifts, days, nights, weekends, holidays. Um, it's all over the place. And so when I decided to make a commitment to my sleep, I really was like, okay, I'm going to have to prioritize my sleep, protect my sleep, do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm getting the rest that my body really needs. And I will say it's made a huge impact in my life and I've lost weight. So that's a good thing. So I'm going to cover a lot of stuff. Grab a pen, some paper, start maybe writing some notes, writing some things down. Um, Ask me any questions. I'll try to get to those at the end. Or if you watch the replay, you can certainly type in some questions and I will answer them to the best that I can. In the Facebook group, I'll also list all the resources of the materials kind of that I talk about, um, the products and stuff that I mention. You know, I have no affiliates or anything like that. I'm just telling you what I like, what works for me. You, this is, and by the way, I'm not giving you any advice either, right? I'm just telling you things, just giving you suggestions, just talking about stuff. So, the first thing I'm going to cover is good information to know about about sleep. Sorry, hang on. And then tips and strategies to improve your sleep. According to the World Health Organization, shift work is a carcinogen. Well, that's lovely. It's the story of our life in EMS, right? Shift work. It's been listed as a carcinogen. That's how serious your sleep is. One of the weight loss basics that I teach to all my clients is to prioritize and to protect your sleep. We have to have this paradigm shift about the importance of sleep. We have to stop wearing our lack of sleep, our sleep deprivation, and fatigue as like some weird badge of honor. And it's time to stop using our work schedule as an excuse to not get enough sleep. So here's the other thing, by the way. I am looking at my notes. My last Facebook Live, I didn't have any notes. I did not like how that flowed. So I do have notes. If you see me, my eyes moving, like I'm looking at my notes. Okay, so 15 to 20% of US of the US workforce is shift workers. I didn't think it was that many. Sleep is a necessity and it is not a commodity. Our lack of sleep is linked to overeating. The hormone ghrelin, which is our hunger hormone, and leptin, which is our fullness hormone, are both affected by our lack of sleep. When our sleep is deprived, our ghrelin spikes, and that makes us really hungry. And of course, what we really want when we're sleep deprived, right, is like those refined sugars, really simple carbs like crackers, chips, candy, anything that will give us that quick hit of sugar and dopamine. So our ghrelin levels spike and we feel increased hunger. And then our leptin levels, which is what tells us when we're full, completely plummet. And then this leads, of course, to overeating. This is something that I just learned. I don't know. I don't know how I didn't know this, but anyways, maybe you'll find this interesting too. Adenosine, which of course we've all heard of, is an inhibitory neurotransmitter and it's a CNS depressant and inhibits the processes related to wakefulness. It builds throughout the day. The longer you're awake, the higher your adenosine level is. And this high level causes a thing called sleep pressure, which is what helps us fall asleep. Once you fall asleep, the levels decrease. Here's an interesting fact as well about how caffeine works. It inhibits sleep by blocking the action of adenosine in your brain. Here, I didn't know what caffeine did to, I mean, I knew it helped keep us awake, but what it does is it blocks that adenosine in our brain. Isn't that crazy? I love caffeine. I love coffee. Um, Melatonin is sometimes considered the darkness hormone, and it's secreted by your pineal gland. Is that how you say it? Pineal? Pineal. Pineal. I don't know. Sunset is generally the start of our melatonin secretion, and it stops secretion at sunrise, which causes you to wake up. It's a key player in our circadian rhythm, and melatonin decreases with age. So you've probably heard about the circadian rhythm. It's responsible for some of the following body processes: sleep and wakefulness, our metabolism, our core body temperature, our cortisol level, our melatonin level, and other hormones like our growth hormone and thyroid hormone. So I was just reading about my teenage boys, and part of the reason why they like to sleep so much is because that's when our bodies release the growth hormone, and so that's how they grow. So I always encourage them to do a lot of sleeping because they need to grow. You might not know this either, is that every organ and every single cell in your body has its own circadian rhythm. I did not know that. I thought that was really interesting. As shift workers, our I keep saying that wrong, I'm sorry. Our circadian rhythm is severely disrupted. And this has negative effects on us in multiple ways. So lack of sleep prevents our brains from making new memories, and we build up a toxic level of beta amyloid, which is linked to causing Alzheimer's. So when we sleep, our body kind of washes away that waste product of the beta amyloid and washes it away and reduces our risk for Alzheimer or dementia. This is another great reason why sleep is so important. Being awake for greater than 16 hours will start to show signs of cognitive and physiological deterioration. It's after 16 hours, it's like being legally intoxicated. There's tons of information on the interwebs about sleep deprivation and car crashes, and I don't need to explain that to anybody in EMS because we see that a fair amount. But what's funny is like we don't really think about it for ourselves as much, whether leaving shift and driving home, or for us, even though I am on the flight team, when the weather's bad, we still have to go by ground sometimes. And then we're driving and up late, longer transfers and stuff like that. And so we don't think about how it affects us. I certainly don't. I don't commute. So one of the things that I just read, it said for every hour that you commute is an hour less of sleep, obviously, that you get. But it's it shows your lack of sleep, your commute time, they're all really interrelated. So it's really fascinating. I highly recommend if you're a commuter to do some research on that for sure. Um, let's see. I don't want to forget anything. Oh, well, I thought this was really funny too. We need 8 hours of sleep to repair our damage from our wakefulness. Because as we're awake, we're like damaging ourselves and doing all these things. And so we need that sleep time to um, recover and regenerate our cells. And this is a time for optimal fat burning as well. Because if we eat our last meal in the early evening and then we don't eat anything again until the next day, we are fasting. It is kind of a form of intermittent fasting. And during that time, our body, when we're sleeping, our body's still very active, right? And so it needs glucose to have the vital functions. And when we haven't eaten, then our body is able to access our fat stores to help get that glucose or actually glycogen into our system for our cells and our muscles and everybody to use. So that's why sleep is such a great fat burner. And this is why we don't want to be eating right before we go to bed, which is really hard when we're in EMS because we think that we need to have a little something to eat before we go to bed to help us feel sleepy, to make sure that if we get up in the middle of the night that we're not going to be hungry. But those are all just lies your primitive brain is telling you, quite honestly. I really think that you should be eating right before you go to bed because what that does is that increases our insulin. And when we have elevated insulin, we are not in fat burning mode, we're in fat storage mode. And if you want to lose weight, you have got to be in fat burning mode, not fat storage mode. Okay, so here are some tips and strategies that will help you get better sleep while still working in our job. These are just my suggestions, and I don't have them in any specific order. I've been, yeah. Sorry about the sign. Just such a bummer you can't read it. So commit to making sleep a priority. I know you're going to hear me say this like 100 million times, but I am serious. You have to stop wearing your lack of sleep as like some version of you being really important or that people should have empathy for you or whatever. Just stop. Your sleep is so important. I mean, it's a lack of sleep, sleep deprivation, shift work is a carcinogen, causes cancer and heart disease and immune problems and all sorts of negative effects. So, if you want to be healthy and live a long life, you've got to make your sleep a priority. That's how serious this is. Okay, so exercise is a great way to improve your quality and your quantity of sleep. The more you exercise regularly, the more and better sleep you'll get. And when you get better sleep, then you're going to want to exercise more. Nobody wants to exercise when you're sleep deprived, right? And let me just back up here for a second. I know that these are all just suggestions. And when we're at work, this stuff doesn't, we can't do most of this stuff, right? We can't do it. So, what I'm suggesting is that we optimize our sleep, make it a priority for when we are not at work. Now, I know you're not working 365 days per year. I actually just totaled up my shifts for 2019. It's 118 shifts. How many I'll work. I took vacation. I take a lot of vacation and time off. So it's not that many, but I'm sure most people work more than that. But what I want you to do is really focus on the time that you're not at work and really optimize your sleep when you are at home or possibly when you're traveling, but not when you're working, because some of these things you can't do while you're at work. And I totally understand that and I totally get it. Okay, so exercise. The more you exercise, the better you'll sleep. The better you sleep, the more you're going to want to exercise. You want to avoid exercise though for 2 to 4 hours before bed because obviously, right? It energizes us usually, and we want to be in a resting, quiet mode before we go to sleep. This one is super hard for me, and this is limit our caffeine. So you want to avoid caffeine 12 to 14 hours before you plan to go to sleep. That's a lot of math for me. And so I just try not to drink caffeine after noon, after 12. If I am on like a day shift schedule, if I'm on nights, which that's partly why I'm awake right now, is I've been on a stretch of nights and I work nights this weekend. So kind of trying to stay up a little bit later so that I can get a little bit acclimated. So this is super interesting. Even though you meet, oh my gosh, you might be able to go to sleep after you have some coffee, the caffeine is still in your system. The half-life for caffeine is 6 hours, and the quarter life of caffeine is 12 hours. So it'll still be in your system while you're sleeping, and it reduces your deep sleep, right? We have these sleep cycles, and there's the deep sleep that's like cycles stage 3 and 4, and then you go into REM sleep. Um, the deep sleep, it's reduced by 20% when you have caffeine. Okay, caffeine hits the mute button on the adenosine. Remember, which is what we need to build up for that sleep pressure to help us fall asleep. So you got to limit your caffeine. I think I might start drinking decaf. Maybe. I don't know. I'll ease into it. um, okay, this one also makes people angry, but there's this huge misconception that drinking alcohol makes you sleep better, makes you sleepy. That is not true. So I want you to skip the alcohol. Alcohol disrupts our sleep cycles. It actually blocks the REM sleep and it shortens the REM as the alcohol is metabolized, right? So as you're burning it off, it's still shortening your REM sleep. Your brain will naturally try to make up for this REM sleep. Okay. And so when you have to wake up, you could be awoken right in the middle of your REM. And if that ever happens to you, you know that it's really hard to wake up and you're kind of groggy and weird. Um, so when you drink alcohol, you're actually taking away the benefits of sleep. That whole restorative process that sleep is supposed to give us is completely removed when you have been drinking alcohol. So is it worth it? I mean, these are the questions. This is as a coach. These are the things that I discussed with clients, and it's the thing I work with my coach. Like, is the alcohol worth it? Is the beer worth completely having a missed night of restorative sleep? I don't know. You have to make that decision yourself. Okay. This one also, I remember getting this advice a number of years ago, our safety, something like that, and we all just kind of chuckled, but this is serious. So you need to transform your bedroom into an area for just sleep and sex. Okay? No TVs in there. Do not bring that iPad in there. You can have your phone in there, and I've got some rules for having a phone in your bedroom. Okay? But you've got to get rid of the television and do not bring that iPad in there. You need to buy room darkening shades. Okay? The sunlight stimulates alertness. It tells your body to stop producing melatonin. If you need to sleep during the day, it has got to be dark in there. Get the room darkening shades. We just got these, I don't know, 3, 4 years ago. What were we thinking? I don't know. We're dumb. We redid our basement. Do you think it would have occurred to us to like create a sleep room in the basement since we're both shift workers? No, we didn't think of it. Now I'm like, we could have had the most amazing sleep room in the back corner of the house, not facing the road, could have been dark and like the perfect sleep stuff. So we missed that opportunity. Now I have good sleep and I've got good sleep hygiene, so I can get past all that stuff. But, anyways, get room darkening shades. Seriously, you can get them at Target, they're super cheap. You can also invest in a white noise or a pink noise maker. I just learned about pink noise. I didn't know all this about noise. Okay, it's on different frequencies and they're correlated with the frequency, vibration, color. I don't know, but what pink noise really is like the sound of steady rain or wind, or my favorite is your heartbeat. This is why I love wearing earplugs. I can hear my own heartbeat and I love the sound of it and it's very soothing to me. Um, get a good bed. I mean, when was the last time you changed your mattress? We have a Casper mattress. I freaking love that thing. I love going to bed. It's the most comfortable bed ever. Invest in some good pillows, okay, and really high quality sheets. I'm telling you, the pleasure of getting into clean sheets and nice quality bedding is the most amazing feeling, especially when you're so exhausted, right? You got to get into there. Get into that. Get some. I have a link. I have a kit store. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but I'll put a link in the Facebook page. And I tell you what my favorite brand of sheets are. Get one of those like dark eye masks things. You can get those to prevent the light. Earplugs, of course. If you're in Hems, you have plenty of earplugs. You want your room temperature to be really cool, like 65 degrees. That's because our body temperature changes while we're sleeping. And then if you have a family or roommates or whatever, put a sign on the door that says, "Do not disturb. Life-saving sleep in progress." This brings up a good point. You need to get your family on board, or your roommates or whomever you live with on board to the importance of your sleep and how you're prioritizing it. You need to talk to your children and tell them, listen, I'm sleeping. You cannot come in here, right? My husband and I, we both work this weekend. My husband's on days, I'm on nights. Kids are going to be here, in and out, going all over the place, and I'm going to need to sleep. And I talk to them and we talk about how important it is to let me sleep and how if there's an emergency, they can come in. But you have to talk to your family. They have to be on board and they have to learn how to minimize interruptions. Okay. You need to prep your phone for sleep. Now, you can have your phone in your bedroom. It's not recommended, especially for teenagers and young kids. Don't let them have their phones in their bedroom. But make sure you can put it, if you have an iPhone, the new iPhones have dark mode, and they also have sleep mode. So you can, my phone automatically changes at 9 o'clock at night into a sleep mode, which changes the color and reduces the blue emitting light that comes from phones and devices. So you're going to want to do that. Here's the deal with the blue light. I know everybody talks about it, and I was like, whatever, like it's a little bit of light. How's it possibly going to bother me? I'm like tired. Okay, so here's what it does. So it interferes with your melatonin production. Even 1 hour of blue light exposure before bed will reduce your melatonin production by 50%. 1 hour reduces it by 50%. And then it delays the spike of melatonin for 3 hours. Again, is it worth it to be on your phone? I don't think so. Don't do it. Say no to the devices. Turn off all of the notifications on your phone. You've got to learn how, if you don't know how to do it, you've got to figure it out, okay? Turn the notifications off. Put it in do not disturb mode. These are all iPhone things. This is what I have. I don't know anything else. If you have a different phone, ask the Googles. They can figure it out. Here's something you might not know about your do not disturb on your iPhone is that calls can come through on there. The people that are on your favorites list, if they call you twice within 3 minutes, it'll interrupt your sleep. It'll go through the do not disturb. So just so you know, again, you have to talk to your family. Say, if there's an emergency, you're on my favorites list, you call me 2 times within 3 minutes, the, it will ring, and then I'll be able to pick it up and it'll wake me up, which is totally fine, right? We want to get woken up if there's an emergency. We just don't want to get woken up for like somebody asking, where the Nutella is. That may or may not happen to me. Um, okay. Guided meditation. I don't know if I've talked about this yet, but I love guided meditation. It's a great way to help you fall asleep. It gives your mind something to focus on other than that constant brain chatter, right? It's like we're going along all day and then we go lay down and it's like every thought, every recreation of everything, all the ruminating thoughts and everything all come up right when you go to bed. So learning to do meditation. I prefer guided meditation. I find an app on the iPhone. There's like Insight Timer is one, Calm is another one, Headspace, and Meditation Studio. That's another one I like by Gaiam. They're all great. You turn it on, make sure your phone is, flipped over so you're not getting the blue light. And then just listen to that, and it's amazing what it can do for you. And then this is one of the things that I work really closely with all of my clients with, and I call it creating a pre-sleep routine. Whether you're on days or nights, this is a form of auto suggestion, and it helps tell your brain and your body that it's time for sleep. Okay, this is like the same reason why when we have babies that they tell us to have a sleep routine, because it helps let the baby know that it's time for night, time for sleepy. We give them a nice warm bath, we read them a book, we rock them, maybe we feed them or nurse them, and then we put them to bed. We need to do the same thing for ourselves. We need to create a pre-sleep routine to start letting our mind and our body know that it is going to be time for sleep. And it's recommended that you do this 1 hour before bedtime. Here's some things that should be in your pre-sleep routine. Okay, no devices. I've said it a million times. Okay. Taking a melatonin supplement is a good idea, I think. It really helped me. There's all sorts of versions of it. There's all sorts of different dosages. And from what I've read is that melatonin is considered a supplement, and that means it's not regulated by the FDA. And so you can get low quality ones. There's all those studies that where they tested it and it showed that what it said was in there wasn't in there. So you really want to get it from a good quality source. And you want to start out at the lowest dose possible and then increase it if it's not working for you. And listen, this is going to take a little bit of time. Right? It's not going to just work one time overnight and be like, oh, that's amazing, right? You have to be patient here. You have to try it out. Um, See if you can adjust it, increase it by small increments. A lot of people use it for when they have jet lag or they're traveling in different time zones. It helps, but start low, like a 0.5 milligram. And you want to take it 45 to 90 minutes before bed. Start with low doses. It's a lot going on in my house right now. So I like the Doc Parsley's sleep remedy. He's a fantastic sleep specialist. He worked with the Navy SEALs and he knows so much about sleep and circadian rhythm. It's fascinating. He has a free digital book that you can buy, and I love it. And I love the supplement. It has very little melatonin in there, and it has a few other supplements that are really great, really help with sleep. Another one is the Bulletproof sleep solution. I don't know if you guys have heard of Bulletproof Coffee. It's a brand. Dave Asprey is the founder of it, and I love all of those products. I'm a huge fan of drinking bulletproof coffee. I think on my one of my pages, I have kind of the recipe or a video of me making it. But he has a really great supplement. Um, Stay away from the over-the-counter sleep aids too, by the way. Um, they induce more a sedative state and they prevent the restorative activity of regular sleep. So this is different than what melatonin does. And I forgot to mention that the studies show that melatonin may or may not work, but there really aren't any negative side effects to it. It doesn't make you feel drowsy. It's not supposed to do that. And it's not addictive. And the only thing that they say is that continued use of high doses can possibly cause your body to stop producing your own melatonin. But remember, as we age, melatonin really decreases. There's all sorts of other information too about melatonin and how it helps with weight loss, helps with cancer prevention, and all sorts of interesting things. Now, I don't know if I believe that. I haven't seen the actual research studies. The couple that I did do were very small um, groups of people, so I don't know what the validity of it is. But anyways, very interesting to read about nonetheless. Um, let's see. Okay, stay away from the over-the-counter ones. Journal, right? You all know I love the journaling. Um, just do it for 2 minutes to help get all those ruminating thoughts out of your mind and just get it on paper and just have the space in your brain for something else. Taking a hot bath. Now, you'll hear conflicting things on this. So, all the um, researchers that I was reading about, and I'll link to those resources either in the Facebook page in the comments or someplace. I'll get it on there because there's some really interesting. The sleep diplomat, what was his name? Matthew Walker, brilliant. Um, he works in California. Anyways, he talks about taking a hot bath. Now, most of us think that we take the hot bath because it's relaxing and it helps relax us. That is part of it, but the real reason why taking a bath is so beneficial is because it drops our body temperature. And a drop in our body temperature also stimulates sleep. Um, it helps initiate that sleep and it helps maintain your sleep because, as you probably are well aware, when we're sleeping, our body temperature decreases quite dramatically. That's why, like, if you're up on the night shift and it's between usually 2:30 and like 4:30, you're freezing cold. Like you can't get warm. It's like it's the craziest thing. I don't nobody ever told me that. Like when I was a young paramedic, I'm always like freezing cold. Nobody ever said it's because your metabolism is slowed way down and your body is meant for sleep. So it helps us. Temperature change is what helps stimulate the sleep. That's the benefit of the hot bath. Um, okay, I think that's it. So protect and prioritize your sleep. Make an effort to optimize your sleep when you can, especially when you're at home, right? The only solution to sleep deprivation and fatigue is sleep. You got to figure it out. You got to find time to sleep. So, what I want to do in the future is talk about ways to improve our sleep and rest at work. And on the opposite side of sleep is wakefulness. And if you find that you're really fatigued, some of the ways that people suggest to help combat fatigue, I kind of have some disagreement with. And there's some really natural, good ways that you help like reactivate certain hormones in your body and everything. So I'll talk about that on another time. This has been really long. This is like the longest one I've ever done. It's like 40 minutes, which means it's now 9 o'clock Central Time. That's where I'm at. So, anyways, thank you for tuning in. I hope that you learned a little bit. I'll try and put as many links and resources and everything in the Facebook group. I would love to talk to you about sleep. It's so important. It's so critical to losing weight and just having a better life overall. It really is that important. Like, we have to just stop pretending like sleep is not important. So I hope that you have a fantastic evening, and I will see you again real soon.